Hello, welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I get to sit down with musician Thunder Jackson. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Thunder, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. I want to start at the beginning of your musical journey because it sounds like you have a really rich musical background for the creation of Thunder Jackson and kind of what Thunder Jackson is right now. But I want to go at the beginning. So, Thunder, what is your earliest musical memory?
You know, it kind of started off when I was growing up. My dad was in a couple bands and kind of was surrounded by music. He was an Elvis impersonator for a short time in his life. So he kind of just gave me the kick to go out and play music. I was playing in bars. I had a license to play in bars in Oklahoma when I was like 14. So I was playing like country music, like country bars, smoking or non-smoking, all through Oklahoma City at a really early age. And then moved out to LA when I was about 17 and became a street musician for like 2.5, 3 years, which was quite a trip. And then it kind of led us to where we're at now. But it really just stems from just growing up around my dad's little garage bands he had growing up, to which he gave me my first vinyl, which was Sign of the Times by Prince.
How exactly did that experience playing that young and watching your dad have like this kind of persona that was bigger than himself and he got up on stage, like how exactly that influenced what you make today?
It was just so cool to see my dad, who was like this super family dad guy, go on stage and completely be a different character. And I would be the kid backstage bringing my dad his little Elvis scarves to pat his sweat. And it just kind of like, over the years I started, really loving writing from a character standpoint with the Thunder Jackson stuff, and kind of creating this different side to the writing of Thunder Jackson, where we could write more universally, more than singular about my own life. And it kind of stems from my dad. I just remember just being so influenced by the character that you could create and play it to other people, and then you could immediately shut it off and go back to being, whoever you wanted to be before that. The Thunder Jackson was definitely it was a pretty solidified thing when we started playing it. We played a show here in Oklahoma City. A buddy of mine owns this venue, and we rented it out ourselves. And I was like, well, I want to put on this show in Oklahoma City. Okay, we're an Oklahoma City band. All my bandmates are here, so we rented out the space, sold our own tickets. I hired a magician to stand in the front for people who were walking in. I hired like a live painter. I wanted it to be like more of an experience. So we did that. That was the first show that Thunder Jackson officially played. I think we sold like 300 tickets. It was amazing. It was an amazing show. And then it was such high demand, so we had to do it another time, another month later. And that pretty much just kicked off. We ended up going on a little small tour towards the end of that year. And then obviously the COVID hit us right before we were supposed to go on tour with Milky Chance. So
when I hear your music, you have this sort of sporadic energy, you're dancing, you have it's just fun to listen to, and it's really engaging. And you have a sort of vibe to your music that is really infectious. And so when you write those songs, do you try to go from an experiential standpoint in your own life, or do you try to write things more from a figurative standpoint?
It started off being a little more the other way, but we ended up kind of leaning towards writing it from a character standpoint, because I was getting a little bogged down in the studio halfway through the record. I was like, man, why are we writing it about, my life? This is a Thunder Jackson character. Let's make these songs whatever we want them to be. Our imagination is endless of how we can write this. So we ended up kind of changing gears midway through the record, and that's when we put out the version of Colors you hear now, which is a way more dancey pop version. And then we ended up making a Lovesick Doctor around that same standpoint. And that has my dad at the beginning of Lovesick Doctor doing the intro with his voice. And then my mom is the beginning of Guilty Party. But yeah, I just think in any kind of songwriting, it's just way more freeing to let go of the restraints of being one-dimensional with the character writing.
You're based in LA, but you are originally from Oklahoma, and I believe you're in Oklahoma right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're two very different places, but in your own mind, how has each area influenced your music, and maybe like what do you feel like the music scene is in each area that you reside in?
Well, I mean, obviously, LA has its perks and its beauty, and all the connections I've met in LA is amazing. But I always just constantly find myself coming back to Oklahoma, mainly because I just feel inspired here. It just makes me I kind of get nostalgic when I'm here, um, and so my songwriting always becomes a bit nostalgic while I'm here, way more in LA. And, there's the plus and minuses for sure. Like, you come here and it definitely is Oklahoma sometimes, and it can be a small town, and you kind of can get wrapped into that. But I claim Oklahoma till the day I die. I love this place with all my heart. And, my house in Venice is definitely my home away from home, but I would say Oklahoma will always be the home. And I think the music scene here in Oklahoma is just beginning. Obviously there's the Flaming Lips that kind of made their name in Oklahoma, but it's only getting better. And every time I go out and see a show here before COVID, the bands I see are just getting better and better. And it kind of reminds me of a little Austin sometimes.
Heard that? Yeah, you're not too far away from Texas up there in Oklahoma. Like for people that
No, we're about 3 hours from Dallas and about 6 hours, 7 hours from Austin. So.
Obviously, Thunder Jackson is this bigger than life character, has all this really cool stuff, really energetic music. But I want to know, on a personal level, what is a typical day for you like? Do you try to set aside times to make music? Is that more sporadic? I don't know. How exactly does a day go for you?
Yeah, I mean, they're typical is it's kind of a hard vocabulary. I'm very sporadic and all over the place, but I write the Thunder Jackson stuff more so very specifically. I work with my producer and songwriter Pete. But yeah, I mean, I just think every day I'm a night guy, dude. I get in the studio at around 7 p.m., stay until about 6 a.m. That's my typical schedule.
A lot of people have probably heard your new album, but your new album, it's a self-titled album, Thunder Jackson. It's out now on all the streaming platforms. It's like we said before, it's got that sound to it, the really awesome energy. You have a lot of awesome music videos up there. We were talking before the interview about your single Colors, the music video in that, and it's just a lot of fun to listen to. What was the process of making that record, and what does that record mean to you?
Yes, so the process is funny. I mean, it took us 3 years, me and Pete. So I met Pete, what is it now, 6, 7 years ago in the back of an Uber with a mutual friend. He just got off a tour. He was in a band called Until the Ribbon Breaks, and we kind of hopped in a cab together and became best friends from having a little drunken escapade through LA. And then we started making the Thunder Jackson record. And it's kind of surreal even now that the record's out. It's a lifelong, being a small town kid from Oklahoma, putting out a record under a label and management and all this crazy things surrounded by me. It becomes surreal sometimes, and the record's really special to me because it's definitely a super personal record, but also the record is for other people. But the record is all about the journey of finding oneself and moving on, and I think it's kind of symbolic of me and Pete, the other songwriter and producer on it, of our relationship to the record and how we kind of progressed as we set the record up in a very specific way. So it kind of ends with Lucky, which is kind of like Pete and I, it's our ode to each other. But yeah, man, it's still surreal. It's honestly still surreal that the record's even out. We have music videos. It's just, I could have never imagined this being a kid from Piedmont, Oklahoma.
Well, heard that. Well, I love it, and I know a lot of other people that are watching right now love it. And if you haven't heard Thunder Jackson's music, you can find it all over the internet. But Thunder, where can people find your music at online?
You can find it. I have a website, thunderjackson.com, Spotify, Apple Music. I think it's on Tidal. I'm now on TikTok. I've now moved over to TikTok to do some little covers, but just any music platform, Spotify, all that jazz.
It's been an honor talking to you, Thunder. Thank you so much. Before we go, I got one more question for you. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a Big Bang Radio Spotlight before, but I'm a musician, but I also love film. And I believe those two worlds are not too far away from each other. And I believe artists like yourself have a soft spot for film.
I'm a big movie guy.
All right, well, I think you're going to like this question. So, Thunder, before we go, what is your favorite movie?
Ooh, it's a tough one. Depends on my mood. Blade Runner is probably my favorite movie ever. The score is just incredible. The cinematography, what they did back then. That's for if I want to get like vibey in the studio. But I also, The Big Lebowski has definitely got to be up there for a comedy. But Blade Runner, Big Lebowski, definitely my two faves.
Thanks to Thunder Jackson for sitting down with us and talking all about his music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can find us online at Studio 67 NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.